Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Investor Lab, the auditory epicenter for passionate people seeking a life of freedom, choice, and abundance. Today's episode is very special. I was joined by one of Australia's, most well-known. He's a household name. His name is Geoff Jowett. Now, he became famous through his business ventures such as Body Trim, Vision PT. He scaled to the upper echelons of business success, and he's also scraped the bottom of the barrel of emotional turmoil. So he's got an amazing perspective on building resilience and finding fulfillment and finding happiness. And the reason that I wanted to speak to Geoff is not only because he is supremely insightful and impactful, but during this time, over the past few months, everyone has felt so much pressure, change. There's been a lot of upset and disruption in the way people think and feel. And I know that it's caused a lot of people to get stuck in a quagmire of inertia, wondering, what they're doing correct? Are they moving in the right direction? Why? And a lot of people are feeling stuck. So I thought it was a really, really important and valuable time to get someone like Geoff on. Now, as I mentioned, Geoff has scaled the heights of business success. He's now a high-performance and mindset coach. So everything that we talk about today, he's coming from the perspective of coaching high-performance business owners. But I want you to listen really carefully, because everything that he says can be directly translated to the journey of not only a business owner, but a real estate entrepreneur, someone who is building the business of being a real estate investor. It's super impactful stuff. And there are so many gold nuggets in there. I really encourage you to listen to this episode twice or three times and take some notes, because there's so much gold in here. We spoke about, how to develop resilience and find happiness. We spoke about how to break free from limiting beliefs and practical advice for anyone who's feeling stuck. We also talked about the common characteristics of high performers, how to break out of a slump, the 3 pillars of purpose, letting go of control and finding freedom. We spoke about, breaking free from the disease of more, and so much more. It's extremely impactful. And if you have felt any kind of uncertainty, lack of clarity, lack of purpose, lack of motivation, I know that this is really, really, really going to help. This episode is going to suit anyone who has been affected by the disruption we've felt in the last few months. So I know that that's going to be basically everyone. As I say, I encourage you to check it out. Go deep on this. We were very lucky to get some of Geoff's time. He's an extremely in-demand individual, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity for him to be able to share some of his insights with you. And so without further ado, get stuck into it and enjoy. And of course, if you want to take your investing journey further, there are many, many ways that you can leverage the skills, insights, perspectives of myself, Gabby, and the rest of the team by heading to theinvestorlab.com.au. There's free stuff. There's stuff that's totally free that you can get access to. There's partnership programs, communities, all kinds of stuff. So feel free to head there, check it out. And of course, if you want to be part of a community of like-minded real estate entrepreneurs or finding success and fulfillment in real estate, then please head to theinvestorlab.com.au/join the community. I've got nothing left to say. This episode was really, really great and deeply insightful. It actually ended quite hilariously too. When you get to the end of the episode, you're going to hear a lot of kerfuffle. Geoff got a hamstring cramp right at the end. So it ended quite abruptly and quite high energy. But as I say, there's a lot in this, and I know you're going to love it. So dig into it, and please let me know. We get people reaching out to us and letting us know what they thought about these episodes, and I've got to say we love it. It's really important. And what's actually even more important than letting us know is letting your friends and family know. So if you think that this episode is good, if you think anything that we've done has been good, if you think that this is beneficial to somebody else, then please do them a favor by sharing it with them. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on wherever you are, share it with a friend, send someone a link, do whatever. Because the more that we can spread our message, the more that we can help people. And that is the aim of the game for us. We're here for you so that you can be there for other people. So thanks for your time. Let's jump into it. I'll see you on the inside. Hey guys, welcome back to the Investor Lab. And joining me today is a very special guest. Now, the bit of a backstory for this guest is he has scaled to the upper echelons of business success, but he's also seen the other side of business failure as well. And this is giving him a unique perspective on developing resilience and how to impact people on a much deeper level. His name's Geoff Jowett, and he's a household name for many people thanks to the successes of some of his business ventures like Body Trim, Vision PT, and so forth. But now he's one of Australia's most sought after and impactful mindset and high performance coaches. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Geoff Jowett. Geoff, welcome to the show.
Hello, mate. How are you? Good?
Mate, very good. Mate, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Now, we've had a couple of interactions through masterminds that I'm involved in and all kinds of stuff. And I've got to say, every time that I've had the opportunity to spend any time with you, it's been supremely impactful for myself. And so I really want to, on behalf of everyone who's listening, thank you for taking some time out of your day, because I know that you've got a lot of value that you can really share. Now, before we get started, I just want to frame up this episode in that what we really want to focus on today is helping people to get unstuck. Because a lot of people they're finding themselves caught in a sludge of their own emotional detriment. There's a lot of negativity floating around and stuff like that. And so I think it'd be great to sort of get some insight and perspective from yourself on how to break through that inertia that's holding people back and stopping people take action in their own lives. But mate, if you don't mind, why don't we just take a little step back and talk a little bit about your story and where, like, your kind of story over the last few years and how you've gotten to where you are today.
Sure. I'm 43. My life in a paragraph: millionaire at 25, broke at 30, living with dad, $40 million business 35, bankrupt and in AA at 40. So definitely had the highs and the lows, big highs, big lows, a lot of ego, insecurity, status, and all of that culminated in complete financial, emotional, spiritual bankruptcy at 40. And that was ironically the gift and the lesson and the blessing for me to change. One of the things that I say to people is that, they're the only common thing in their life, the common denominator. They've been there for all of it. So pretty sure they played a part in all of it, as did I. And we often celebrate our wins and appoint blame elsewhere for the losses, but it's always not that way. We're there for all of it. Probably not as much for the wins as we give ourselves credit, and probably more for the blunders than we'd like to. So that was a big thing for me, awareness and ownership. And at 40, I'd had a problem at times with drinking. I got sober 3.5 years ago. That was changed my life as well. But I was always defined by success. My success was defined by my wealth, my business, my brand, my car. And then that all went down the loo. And that was incredibly hard because I was still very much in ego, defined by those things, and I had none of those things. So that was either jump off the balcony or completely rebuild and reframe how I live and learn and value things. And that was the absolute gift, because I had enough pain to change. Because I say we don't grow when it's easy, we grow when it's hard. And you got to have enough pain to need to change, to avoid the pain. And I just had too much pain. I'd gone broke twice over the 20 years and made big money, broke. And mate, my way wasn't working. It was too extreme. I was too self-centered. And I got what I deserved without a shadow of a doubt. I needed all of it to happen. And then I slowly changed my trajectory, and I slowly went about rebuilding. I was always in a hurry to rebuild, play catch up, get back where I was. That's a massive mistake whenever you do that on the sporting field or business. So I slowed down, got back to basics. I was lucky to have 2 little dogs who very much saved my life and really healed me. And then I got into horses and a really simple life that I never imagined I'd love. And I was thinking about it today, being happy and feeling successful, because I was never happy and I never felt successful. I was excited, but I wasn't happy and felt successful. I believe success is a feeling. It's not a number, because if it was a number, As soon as you hit the number, like X million dollars or X amount of investment properties, as soon as you hit the number, you have a dinner at Rockpool, and then you make the number bigger and off you go again. Not happy until you hit the next number, and then not happy until you hit the next number. And that's what people do for 40 years, and they never actually are that happy or feel successful because the number keeps moving. So success is a feeling, and I think we need to define it by our daily actions, not our past achievements, because we can control our actions today.
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree with that. And on myself, I can share, I've been on my sobriety journey for about a year and a half, so I can empathize.
Good on you. Well done.
Yeah, it's great. Absolutely life-changing in so many ways, and life is so much better for it. But for a lot of people at the moment, they may have lost their jobs, may have found financial hardship, may have found emotional hardship, may be really struggling with the shift in values and shift in perspectives. And now there's kind of two ways you can take the current environment. You can see it as a very oppressive scenario with no way out, or you can see it as an opportunity to rebirth, redefine, and reassess your value proposition. So for most people, they haven't had the opportunity to really go down and crack open and crack past that ego and understand how to redefine success. So for having been there yourself, what advice do you have for people to help them navigate or to break free from that kind of mental state where they're feeling lack, when really, if they viewed it with a different perspective, they would see joy, opportunity, abundance, and prosperity?
Sure. Well, the first thing is a lot of people need to feel they're in control. And the day that you realise you're not in control is the day you can begin to build your life, because we can't control everything. We just can't. And, I think you've got to be fluid. You've got to be fluid and flexible. You've got to flow with life. Not, I was so rigid, concrete with my goals and deadlines and my plan. And sometimes, shit happens and nothing you can do. And now you can fight it. You can try and swim upstream, or you can flow with it. But I tell you one thing, if you're fighting to swim upstream, you're not seeing what's around you at the time, because you've got your head down and you're missing things. So I think the universe, the world, whatever, it's too big and strong for me to fight against it. I try and go with it these days. And in my experience, what I thought was the worst was the best. What I thought was the best was the worst. So I go with the flow, and my life's really good. And I never thought it would be.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? The best. What you thought was the best is the worst, and what you thought is the worst is the best. What do you mean by that?
Well, I thought when you've got Ferraris, Maseratis, you're on TV every day, and all that, you just have to be the happiest bloke in the world.
And that's not the case.
Well, it wasn't for me, mate, because you get stuck in the disease of more. So I was very much defined by my cars and my houses and my first class everywhere and whatnot. Nothing wrong with it, but if it defines you, if that is your metric for being awesome, I think it's a slippery slope, and I think it's external validation. You see, feeling successful is an inside job, not the number on your aeroplane ticket or the brand of your car or the watch on your wrist. And I'm fortunate that I did all that. And a lot of my friends did all that. And even those that still have all that, we all believe the same thing, that just isn't really what fills you up. Now, there's nothing wrong with making heaps of dough. I want to make heaps of dough again, but for different reasons, not to show it off, but to do good stuff with it. So we need to build wealth, but why are we building it? I was doing it to build my self-esteem. I wasn't really doing it to build a life. And I say that, business is a vehicle to build your life. A lot of people become defined by their business, but it's a vehicle to build their life. It's not their entire life. And that's why I say people need hobbies outside their business. Otherwise, they can't see properly because they're just so obsessed with it, and they micromanage and they smother it. And things take time to evolve and grow, and people do as well. So for me, yeah, the thing I thought, if I was on Sunrise and that every day, and I was with the cars and the this, and if I lived here, like, life would be the best, and everyone's, oh, he's living the dream. And it just, the more that I succeeded commercially, the more I just started looking at others that were doing more and thinking, I got to do more. So I didn't get the feeling of success at the time, if that makes sense, because I'd be looking at someone in America or, wherever, and thinking, I got to do that, and pushing, and never actually going, well, we're going pretty good. This is good. So I didn't get those feelings along the way. Now, it's very different now. And these days, I live a very simple life, and I would have thought a simple life would be boring, but I love my simple life now. So, yeah, what I thought would be shit turns out to be great for me, and what I thought would have been the field of dreams. Now, it can be the field of dreams, but you've got to have your ego in check. And if people want to build a big public profile, if that is commercially smart to monetize for their business, perfect. But if they're doing it for other reasons, then probably not perfect. So, what's the strategy under the goal? Why am I doing that? Why do I want to do it? Like, really, why? And it's so important to understand what's driving us. That's the big thing. And for me, it was insecurity and status, and I wanted to, I wanted to feel like I was a winner. And when I started again, I got a lot more, contribution, fulfillment out of, developing people around me, all my clients, the CEOs I coach, the business owners and execs, and helping them develop and build their businesses with them. I find it really rewarding because I get connection out of that. I ended up very disconnected on the booze and whatnot. And so now I feel very connected, and I get a lot of contribution out of the work I do.
Yeah, that's good. Because I was about to ask, actually, because you're very clear in defining what you were and what the motivations were: money, status, disease of more, cars, ego. Very clear. Like, it's super clear that you're very compartmentalized. You've obviously done a lot of work in identifying what didn't work. Are you as clear on what are the core motivations now? Like, what is it that really gives you that depth of fulfillment and happiness now? Like, what is that fuel that's in your tank? Like, what is it that's really driving you forward as an individual?
Sure. Well, I broke it down. I'm big on ratios and also, frameworks around things in businesses and in life. So I concluded for me, retrospectively, that one of the keys was 3 things: hobbies, purpose, love. So I think everybody needs a hobby outside of work. They need to have a sense of purpose in the work they do, not just making dough. And they need to be able to give and receive love. People and animals, doesn't matter if they're your dog, your cat, your horse, humans, whatever, but give and receive love, sense of purpose, and a hobby. They were the 3 things for me because you got to feel joy. Joy is like the juice. If you don't feel joy through your days and know what joy is to you. Joy is playing with my dogs down the park, with my horse. I didn't get joy out of the luxury items per se. I got excitement, but I didn't get that deeper feeling of joy. So I needed the 3 pillars. That was important. Another thing for me was a process focus. So I teach a lot process, not outcome. So 90% of your headspace has got to be in a process or your daily actions. What you got to do now, not where you're going. You get in the car, GPS, you type it in, and then you drive. You don't look at the GPS. And a lot of people, they're so fixated on where they're going, they're not doing today's tasks well. And if you don't do today's tasks well, how can you build? You can't, because it's like laying bricks, but they're all shit. So you've got to do it properly or it falls over. So I also deployed a single task focus. So whatever I do, I just do that. Single task, tick it off, do the next, tick it off, do the next, not juggling 4 things at once. You write the list at the start of the day, you get clarity on where you're going, and then you execute. That's really important because a lot of people struggle with head noise. They're so busy in their head that they're not present. And if you're not present, then your creativity, even your intelligence is compromised because there's too much noise. It's like you're watching channel 7, 9, 10 and the radio trying to keep up with it. So we've got to work on getting that noise down a bit. So process, focus, hobbies, purpose, love, that was a big thing for me because that way when I worked, I was full. I wasn't empty. And a lot of people, they build businesses. And I've got a lot of clients like this. They get late 30s, early 40s, make lots of money, more than they probably thought they would. And they're like, but I'm just a bit flat. They're a bit flat because they've got nothing outside of the business.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I was that's good. So one of the principles that I live my life by, I've got about 14 principles that I read every day to help me align with what I'm doing. And one of those is to thrive on the process, focus on the beauty of action and not the ego of outcome. That's something I read every single day. Now, you touched on there, process, hobbies, 3 pillars of purpose, all of that kind of stuff. Some people, though, don't know how to get themselves going, like how to get off the couch. Like when you were at your lowest point, or whenever you've got yourself into a point where because sometimes it's easy to go, oh yeah, follow your purpose, find more love, find more joy, find more happiness, give more love, and all of that kind of stuff. But sometimes when you've got so much head noise and you're so confused and your life has been so disruptive, you can't go to the gym, you don't know how to go out, you're stuck in the house, you're fighting with your partner, you've lost your job, like all that kind of stuff. How can someone practice some practical steps to crack that wheel, to overcome that inertia, to build more resilience, and to start to focus on finding a pathway to happiness and fulfillment?
Sure. Well, for starters, it takes time. So when I started, I wanted to neck myself every day. I hated my life. I thought the world would be better off without me. I'd made lots of mistakes. I blame, by that stage, I went from not blaming myself at all to blaming myself for everything and then some. And you don't click your fingers and go whoop-de-doo. It takes time. So for starters, for me, it was surrendering to where I was. Stop kidding yourself. You made mistakes, own them, and, mate, one foot in front of the other. So that was down to AA each morning or NA each morning and just doing, from the CEO chair to the alcoholic chair and just do it. Mate, that was hard, very, very hard. But I kept going. I had the little doggies there that gave me some sort of joy, and I got purpose out of them because I had to feed them every night. So, and take them for a walk and whatnot. So that was ground zero. And then what I realized was that if I'm present, not in my head, but present, then I'm okay. But if I'm in my head, full of fear about what may or may not transpire, I'm never going to be okay, regardless of anything. So I, over time, learnt how to become present more of the time. Breathing exercises, focusing on one thing at a time, doing every task well, not making tasks big or small, not making big decisions at work bigger than vacuuming the floor, because we go into performance anxiety and overwhelm, and because I say when you focus on the result, you get overwhelmed. When you focus on the process, you get the result. So there was a lot of these sort of principles that were the framework, if you will, for me to sort of one foot in front of the other, not be in a crazy hurry. And what I say to people now, this has been a very challenging time and a very unique time. But the sun is going to rise and set again, and opportunities will come out of this. Now, it might not be the opportunities that they had prior to it. Things may change, but we've got to accept. It's Buddhism 101, acceptance, non-attachment. And a lot of the fear and the pain comes out of attachment to what we were going to do and where we should be, but we're not. We can't change it. So we can either fight it or accept it. But if we're defined by where we thought we should be, then we're going to be attached all the time, and we're going to fight life. And if you fight life, it's going to fight you back. That's for sure. If you're in a shitty mood, you're not going to have a good day, and probably most people be in a shitty mood too. It's just how it works. It's energy. So we can either flow with it or we can fight it. And it's very, very hard fighting it. So this time for people, like I had my rock bottom years ago, and there's a lot of people now that, this is very, very hard, I know. But what I try and say, what I say to everybody, and I do this myself, I keep my living expenses small. I've got sort of 6 months of savings. You've got, you save a bit for a rainy day. You don't live on a knife's edge. You sort of, in case, you just got a little bit of dough stashed aside, and you just got to live modestly because you just don't know what's around the corner. Now, some people might live modestly and it's still impossible. I get it. But all we can do is start where we stand. What can I do today? And I say hero, not victim. So, those people who are on their knees right now with the COVID situation, and I say everybody's affected, but very few are infected. So very few are infected by COVID-19, but everyone's affected by what's going on. Some people more than others. So the reality is, what can I control? What can I do today? My daily actions. Who can I call? What conversations could I have? What opportunities could I explore? How can I sort of be thinking in a solution mindset instead of what's not working? Like, we know what's not working, but what's possible, because out of this, I guarantee there will be startup businesses that will thrive because of the disruption, because people will have seen new opportunities. That's not everybody, and I'm not saying it's possible for everybody, but we want to have the eyes open. We want to be awake and just be open to change. Be open to change, because it's changing. Now, it might not have been on the forecast, but it is happening. So we have to accept it, be open to it, and with that, what could come your way.
No, that's good. That's good. I think understanding flexibility, being malleable to change and all of that kind of stuff is absolutely critical, because you can only control your current situation. You can only, as you say, be where you are, look around and see where you are, and then see which way to go from there. One thing I wanted to ask you, because I'm mindful of time, I've got
Sure.
2 key questions that I want to ask. So you're now one of the most sought after high performance coaches, specifically for a lot of, real estate professionals, but also business professionals on all kinds of levels. You've got a lot of experience operating with some pretty high performance individuals. What are the most common characteristics, good and bad, of high performance individuals in your experience? And high performance doesn't necessarily mean business success. High performance could mean anything. High performance could be high performing, at just being the most relaxed person on earth. But there's there's high performing energy. So what do you think are the most common characteristics, good and bad, of high performance?
Well, I think the overwhelming majority, because you've got to get out of inertia into momentum. And that's what you touched on before. Like, if you can't get off the couch, that's inertia. How do you get into momentum? And for a lot of people, the ego is good there. It gets you going, right? But you can't use that forever. So a lot of people, when they start their businesses, they want to sort of prove themselves to the world. And that's okay for a period of time. But then you transition. So most people who build big businesses, they want to feel successful, and they think that building the business will do that. So they rip in and it gets them going. So it's good, gets them going. That's fine. But, down the line, you modify that sort of strategy a bit, because it becomes very exhausting, and you get to a stage where you just don't care what other people think, because anybody who's got a profile will know that you could cure cancer and literally discover interstellar worlds, and people would still be down the pub saying you're a dickhead. So you can't look for external validation. The bigger you get, the more you're going to get rubbished. And I'll tell you why, because anybody, and I've been there, anybody who's in pain, in victim mode, it's very hard to be happy for others or to celebrate their success. The only people that will celebrate your success are people who are successful in their own right. And most people, if you surveyed 1,000 people, probably 90% of them, aren't where they want to be, don't feel successful, aren't that happy. So 90% of people aren't going to be pumped for you and aren't going to go, you're awesome. So it's an inside job. And I stopped, looking for that praise or validation when I felt enough in myself. And that's a big segue. So a lot of businesses, the high achievers, there's an ego there and a competition there in the early days. And then they start to love their craft, and then they love to serve, and they kind of love the process behind it, and they become more like artists, and they really love building the machine. And I love business because it's like sport. I love the dynamics of business now and building teams and structures and all of that stuff, because I've been doing it for 20 years and it's easier when you're sober. Who would have thought, right? So yeah, and you get good at what you do. I enjoy that now, so I do lots of that. So people who are high achievers, I'll tell you what, you got to play to your strengths. You can't be a high performer if you're not playing to your strengths. So what do I love? What do I hate? You got to write that down. You got to do what you love. You can't be a high achiever or performer at what you hate. It's too hard. You got to love it. You got to be aligned with your gifts, your talents. Hone those. But work out what they are, what comes naturally to you, what energizes you, what feels light, not heavy. So you want to do things that you love, things that feel light, things that come naturally. Like that's a good start. Am I doing that? And for a lot of people, they fall into their first job. That's fine, but doesn't mean you fall into it for 40 years. So if it doesn't align with sort of what you love and it feels light and you're a bit of a natural at it, well, it's probably not the thing. I think everybody's got infinite potential, but we've got to get in our corridor of skills or in our sweet spot. So the high performers find their sweet spot. They're competitive. That fuels ambition and drive. And, as I said, early days, that's a great thing to get you going, but it won't keep you going because you become jaded and resentful because, you build an organisation of any size and you're going to have issues with staff and competitors and whatnot. And if you're looking for praise, recognition from everybody else and those sorts of people, it's not going to come all the time and you're going to get burnt out. So you need to change what drives you after a period of time.
So do you think you've found your corridor of purpose? Do you think you've found your absolute, found your place? Do you see yourself doing what you're doing now in 10 years time? Or is this just a passing? Do you think you're moving through a phase, or do you think you've found your calling, so to speak?
Well, John McGrath, who's one of my best friends, we were chatting, we chat a lot, but Johnny said the other day, mate, what's next, GJ? What? And I said, mate, more of the same. So Goose, I don't give it a lot of thought, mate. 10 years on, I'm happy now, so I keep doing it. I'm very fluid. I do like the real estate industry. I think it's a beautiful business. I love the business model. I love them because it's so simple. It's such a beautifully simple business. There's not a lot of moving parts. So it's a business model vehicle that I can scale, that I will probably get involved with in a more serious manner in time. And building leaders and teams and offices, and mate, it's great. The buyer work, the real estate aid. I just love the whole thing. And the thing of it is, mate, it's as honest as it comes because it's bricks and mortar. Like you're actually selling something that's real. You're not selling Ab King Pros on the TV or some cream to get rid of the wrinkles, right? So this is real, and you are advising people. You are giving people guidance. It's a service, and it can be, and when it's done well, it's awesome. And giving people the skills to do it well, not to be a salesman, but to do it well. Top of mind, not a pest. How can I serve, not what can I get? Teaching people the finesse to do it well. And I've had very complicated business. Franchising's very hard. Pardon me. I had fast-moving consumer goods, so we had a lot of different product lines in Coles and Woolworths. We were also direct-to-consumer, advertising, TV, print, radio, on digital, massive, like a lot of moving parts, supply chain, import, export, raw materials, so many moving parts, low margins. Real estate, it's the best. You get a clip of the ticket on the way through. You're connecting people, you're building relationships, you don't hold stock, you're not manufacturing, you don't have warehousing and distribution. The business model is just so beautifully simple, having seen so many. I've had offices abroad as well, and mate, it's hard. When I really got my head around real estate, I go, how good's this? This is incredible. But here's the thing. I love the industry, but it's not all I do. So what I mean by that is, in terms of where's Geoff going, Geoff's, living. So I do what I do so I can ride horses and play golf and like that. That's my reason as well. I love horses and animals, and mate, that's a big part of my life. So I do things that I can monetize to have time to do that. I don't want to work 15 hours a day. I don't want to work 12 hours a day. I don't want to work 10 hours a day, and I don't. I'm very selective with the clients that I have and who I take on. A lot of the time I knock people back because I don't think it's the right fit. And, mate, it works really well. So I'm not looking to, whatever I do, there's going to be it will be a component of my life, but it'll never overtake my life like it did in my 20s and 30s.
No, that makes sense. If you what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Like, if you're like, when you're on your deathbed, and if you had one lasting message or imprint or whatever you wanted to leave on the earth, is there anything? Or is it just like, no, it's all just part of a universal soup of energy and emotion and feeling, and it doesn't really matter, and you've gone full zen and you've detached from even that outcome, and it's like that doesn't matter? Or is there something that you want, some way that you want to leave an impact on the earth?
Short answer, no. Short answer, no. And to be honest, and we haven't got time to go through it, but the leave a legacy thing, ego is something we've all got. It's in us. It's the shadow self. And leaving our mark, and mate, the best way to leave your mark is to be a good human, be kind, come from a place of love. That's how you leave your mark. If you want to change, be the change. That if anything, that's what I'd like to. But I don't want to do it to start some movement. I just want to do
have a statue or something like that to go, look how good Geoff was. Yeah.
I don't want any of that. Mate. None of that. Like I used to crave respect and recognition. I don't give it a second's thought, because that's ego. Like if you do the right thing, then by default, without giving it any thought, I'm sure people will respect you. But who cares? Like, why are you thinking about that? Just do good deeds. Simple. You don't need to be fluffed up for it or celebrated for it. And I used to love awards nights and whatnot. And Johnny McGrath said to me this, the last one, he goes, I'm not even going to invite you because I know you won't come, because I just don't do that stuff anymore. I'm just happy to potter away. I'm just happy in the background, mate. So for me, like on my deathbed, I just hope I was really happy. I hope I had a happy life. I was happy, because having been sad for a long time, it's just terrible. If you're happy and you've got joy in your life and you pay the bills, and it's great, life's awesome, mate. It's really good. Now, having been in business for 20 years, of course, you learn a lot. And of course, I will do different things and make money, but it doesn't define me. It doesn't define me or make me better or worse or any of that shit. I don't care if the bloke at golf's got $2 or $2 billion. I really don't. I'm there to have an experience at golf and have a chat and have a laugh, and off I go. I don't worry about any of that stuff anymore like I used to. So the thing with my methods and I guess philosophy is that businesses, improve and grow. They don't shrink. It's not about sitting down the park or meditating or, bloody whatever. This stuff, it works for business because it gives you perspective, it gives you humility, it gives you presence, and you become more efficient in what you're doing, and you don't overthink things because you've got other things to do. So it's about output. It's about being effective. Like, everyone's busy, How are you going? Oh, busy. Everyone's busy, but what are they doing? Are they winning? Are they effective? Are they getting stuff done? 100 phone calls a day for like one appointment. I don't know if that's winning. Sounds really hard to me. So, what do we tweak? Do we need to pivot? Like, we've got to be really, I'm very clinical with things, with all businesses. Is it working? Why do we do that? Oh, because he did. Yeah, but they didn't have mobile phones in 1980. So maybe there's a better way now. Maybe we can give that some thought. So, you want to be sanity checking everything. Is this the best way to do it now? Why? Come up with a better process. Look at things so you can build a better business and have more time. That's the thing for me. So it's really interesting. A client said to me the other day, he said, mate, you couldn't do what you do now a few years ago because it wouldn't have been enough. You wouldn't be in the spotlight. I said, you're exactly right. So my motivators are different, Goose, but I was definitely, life broke me. I made the mistakes and it really hammered me and I learnt the lessons. I'm blessed for that. So I just don't need the rah-rah anymore.
Mate, makes total sense. We've got 3 minutes left, right?
Sure.
In the last 3 minutes that we've got, what short, sharp advice have you got for someone who wants to be able to separate themselves from the disease of more and to focus on the purity of what they have?
Well, stop comparing and competing with everyone else. That's the key. Everybody's looking at the bloke down the street with the Audi and thinking, I've got to get one. Don't worry about the bloke with the Audi. Don't worry about him or her. Just run your own race at your own pace. What feels light? What do you enjoy? How can you add value? Like business, it's problem solving. You're solving other people's problems. You're solving problems. That's where the value, pain point, problem solve. Pain point, problem solve. Problem solution. So you do that. You just do that. How can I serve, not what can I get? Don't compare. And the thing is, like, I've got a lot of clients and a lot of work and I'm more or less full. And I didn't prospect one person, but the work I did was valuable and businesses grew and people changed. So they stayed and they told a few of their friends and speaking gigs. And, mate, it was organic. It wasn't a big intergalactic strategy, but it was good work. You got to be adding value. Like, the marketing strategy is good, but if the value proposition at the end of it's no good, you're gone. So, when we were spending $500,000 a month on media. Like, I know a lot about marketing. Marketing's one thing, but what's on the end of it? Otherwise, you got a whole heap of churn, and you got a whole heap of people who are like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know, but sounds good, but underneath the bonnet, it's not so good. So that's something that's really important. Is the value really there? If it is, awesome, keep going. Nothing good happens fast. We think we can just do it in 4 minutes. You can't. You've got to lay the foundations. Building businesses, you've got to get your processes in place. You've got to get all this stuff, the boring stuff, you've got to get it solid. Otherwise, you scale and it falls over. It's a house of cards. And I've done that. You can't just scale at 1,000,000 miles an hour and not have the platform, not have the foundation. And that takes time, not have a management team and a capable, equipped management team. And if you're scaling a business, you've got to be investing in those people so that they're given the tools, because a lot of entrepreneurs just assume others would do as they do, but they can't. They don't, because they're not an entrepreneur. So you've got to give people the tools. You've got to set them up to win. That's really important. Nothing good happens fast. Run your own race at your own pace, and we must stop comparing ourselves to everybody else. That is like the disease that everybody seems to be infected with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it's one of the most life-changing things that I've been learning, even over the last 12 months, is to separate from that. Mate, one of the things I want to point out is that everything you've spoken about today, you've spoken about from the perspective of business, and you've spoken about business and business. Literally everything that you have said applies to the journey of someone investing in real estate from a property investment perspective. Everything you pointed out that is in perfect alignment with business is also in perfect alignment with the business of investing in real estate, acting in service and acting out of love and gratitude and focusing on the process. So, mate, I just want to thank you for your time. I'll let you go and have a stretch.
Thanks, mate.
Get out of here and stretch. I really appreciate your time. I'll send you a copy of this when it's done. Thanks so much, Geoff. Appreciate it. See ya.